Okay. This is the official veto of the budget sent to me by the General Assembly that's out of balance. And pursuant to law, send my name. Okay, this is a message to the General Assembly with specific information regarding this budget that's out of balance, and it also deals with the effort by the General Assembly to force the executive branch to do unconstitutional things. We will not accept that. We are a government of laws. Our Constitution is supreme, and therefore the General Assembly must abide by the Illinois Constitution and the way it's been interpreted by our Supreme Court. There are good days and hard days in our state, especially now. I think yesterday I was speaking to the governor of Ohio, Ted Strickland, who's a good friend, and his state, like ours, we're just about the same size. Ohio's going through a tough time. Illinois is going through a tough time. My friend Jennifer Granholm, who's the governor of Michigan, they're going through a tough time, and all of us in the Midwest, we're going to work together for the betterment of all of our states. Not too long from now, we're going to be having a summit here in Chicago on dealing with high-speed rail to make our region, the Midwest, really an example of how to do fast trains in America. So there's hope on the way. But today I think it's important that we let the people of Illinois know that we're doing everything possible to be frugal in our government. We have three missions today. That's cut costs, and cut costs. We have to do that. The wolf is at the door, and it's important that we protect the people of Illinois and the basic services of our government. But at the same time, we can't have any frills or extravagance in government. So as governor, I have the duty of protecting the public purse. I'm going to act in a minute or two to veto a bill that the General Assembly sent to me last week. I warned the General Assembly that we had to be frugal, and unfortunately the bill that was sent to me for the budget, it's one of the budget bills, there's 5 altogether, but this one deals with a lot of parts of state government that simply did not have the economies necessary in order to have a balanced budget. I think we should always keep that in mind. That's our goal in Illinois, to have a balanced budget that's fair and decent for the people. And we have to do a couple of things in that regard, but today what we have to do is cut the costs of our government. And we've gone through and combed through our state government. Earlier this year, I cut $1.3 billion in expenses from the government when I made the budget address. But we have seen, with our economy continuing to bump along and with the needs of our state as far as economy and at the highest level, we've had to make another $1 billion worth of cuts today. And I'm going to sign this particular veto and send it back to the General Assembly with specific directions on how they can save money for the people. And I think it's important that the members of the General Assembly understand that the watchword of economy and cutting costs applies to all of us. Whether you're in the governor's office or whether you're in the General Assembly or any other constitutional office, everybody has to make sacrifices. We believe in shared sacrifice. In tough times, the people of Illinois band together to make sure that we take care of the fundamental needs and priorities of our state. But if we have to make cuts, if we have to make sacrifices, it's got to be done in a shared way. This particular piece of legislation that I'm going to veto today did not follow those principles of shared sacrifice. There were too many instances of entities getting the same budget they did the year before, or very modest reduction, where others are taking very painful cuts. So I don't believe that that's fair, and I don't think the people and taxpayers of Illinois think that's fair. Now, as you know, I've been meeting with groups of legislators last week and this week. I'm going to be down in Springfield later this week to meet with downstate state legislators and the governor's mansion. We're also going to meet with Chicago legislators later this week. But all the legislators that I've talked to from both parties, from both houses, made it very clear that we have to cut wherever possible. So I'm going to give them plenty of opportunities to cut the budget. We have to do this, and that's what our veto is all about. Specifically, we're going to cut $185 million from state operations. This will result in approximately 2,600 layoffs. Those layoff notices have begun to go out already. We have to have 12 furlough days from our employees. That's 1 day per month, whether it's in the governor's office or any other constitutional office, or whether it's the General Assembly or their staff or those who are working for our state agencies. We're going to have to take furlough days. In some respects, that's a way for employees to help each other. By taking a furlough day, you can help prevent further layoffs. So we intend to execute that plan. We also have to look at our Medicaid costs, our health care costs, which is a dramatic part of our state government budget. We have to cut $140 million from Medicaid and health insurance. We also have targeted cuts in various state grants of $250 million. Our Department of Corrections, which is one of the largest departments in state government, we have to cut $125 million from that budget that I was sent. As far as education, they'll have to receive a reduction as well. Fortunately, the federal stimulus is helping our schools all across Illinois. We're very grateful to President Obama for that. We have to cut agencies of state government, boards and commissions, and I really appeal to my fellow constitutional officers to do this in the way they think best for their budget. I was a lieutenant governor before I had this position. I think it's always best to ask a constitutional officer to make a 10% cut in the way they think most reasonable for their agency. I know it's not good news to hear this. There are many, many agencies of state government that are going to take painful cuts. As you can see from our outline here, all these agencies of state government are going to have furloughs and cuts of employees, and it's going to be tough. But everybody's in and nobody's left out. That's important. I think that we make sure we do that in Illinois in a way that's fair to all. We also intend to reserve money in our budget for if there's bad news ahead. We always have to be prepared for even worse news than we have today. Hopefully we can not have that, but we are going to reserve money in the budget to make sure that we have every economy possible realized and recognized. So whether you're the Department of Human Services, the Department of Health Care and Family Services, or the Department of Aging, Department of Public Health, the State Board of Education, the Department of Corrections, Department of Juvenile Justice, Department of Veterans Affairs, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Agriculture, Department of Revenue, State Police, Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity, the Department of Central Management Services, and many, many more agencies. All of them are going to be cutting back. These are tough choices. They are not bad choices. They are tough choices that we have to make in a fiscal calamity. Basically, we've been hit by an economic hurricane in our country. Every Midwestern state and every state across America really has suffered tremendously. State governments are under great peril, their budgets. But we in Illinois, we will weather through this because we are the land of Lincoln. We have full faith in the people of our state, and we want to make sure we honor their support of us. We cannot support a status quo. We can't run in place and get through this economic storm. This is the worst economic calamity ever to hit our state since the Great Depression. I wasn't alive then. My mother was. She went through that with my father, and they made it through with many, many thousands of other Illinoisans who are still alive today. And they know what it was like in the Great Depression. The great thing about that was that people did come together and work together for the common good. And our governor at that time, Henry Horner, was a good governor. I've read a little bit about his life. I think it's important that we learn the lessons of the past, that we don't, in a tough economic time, say someone else has to take the sacrifice, someone else has to bear the painful cuts. We're all in this together. So whether you're the governor of Illinois or a member of the legislature or somewhere in the state bureaucracy, we have to cut costs, cut costs, cut costs. That's what we've got to do to make Illinois a good state now and forever.